I'm Caleb, analytical, devoted, and until recently blind. Lena, my wife of 7 years, ignited fires in rooms simply by existing. Every step she took shimmered with confidence. Her auburn curls flowed like autumn leaves caught in an eternal breeze. She had an artist's spirit but worked in real estate, selling dreams to strangers while dismantling the one we shared, brick by brick. At first, I blamed stress. Markets crashed. Deadlines multiplied. Even laughter between us grew less frequent, like a melody forgotten. Still, I held her hand through dinner dates, her fingertips cold despite the candles. Conversations thinned. Eye contact became rare, dodging truths neither of us dared voice. Then, peculiar signs began surfacing. Unfamiliar cologne lingered on her blazer one evening. "Client hugged me," she said, chuckling nervously. I swallowed suspicion. Another time, she wore black lace I hadn't seen before, beneath a raincoat, claiming, "Just trying something bold for work." Who was I to question a woman reinventing herself? But instincts clawed at me. Subtle things. The way her texts increased but her explanations decreased, her shower habits shifting to odd hours, the sudden appearance of bruises she couldn't explain. Passion between us faded, replaced by an awkward distance like we were role-playing strangers. I wanted to believe we were just in a lull. Every couple had them, right? Then came that Wednesday. She returned past midnight, cheeks flushed, hair tousled, lipstick imperfect. I asked where she'd been. She claimed a client dinner ran late. "You know how persuasive Jason is," she added, eyes darting toward the floor. Jason was 60, married, and never left the office after 6. I nodded. Of course. But that was the night I stopped being naive. The following morning, while she showered, her phone buzzed beside our bed. Normally, I respected boundaries, but something inside snapped. I opened the message preview. "Last night was unreal. Still taste you. M." I didn't breathe. My pulse spiked. Thoughts exploded like shattered glass. Who the hell was M? Where had they met? How long had this been going on? I felt sick, betrayed, embarrassed. But mostly I felt angry. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I played the role of clueless husband. Smiled. Cooked her favorite breakfast. Kissed her goodbye. Inside, I was unraveling. But I needed a plan. Evidence. Proof she couldn't deny or twist into emotional blackmail. I installed spyware on her phone. Terrible, I know. But desperation justifies many sins. Over the next week, the truth unfolded like a filthy novel. Explicit messages, voice notes filled with moans, videos that scorched my soul. His name was Marcus. A personal trainer, 8 years younger, cocky, crude, dangerously charming. He called her his secret sin. She called him my midnight. I couldn't stop watching. I hated myself, but I had to see every message, not to punish her, but to understand how far she'd gone. Their affair wasn't just physical, it was emotional. Worse, she talked about me with him. "He's boring," one text read. "Safe. Predictable. Like warm soup on a cold day. But you? You're fire, Marcus." That one hurt most. I wasn't even human anymore, I was soup. And Marcus? Marcus was a god to her. Every night I read more. Every day I grew colder. I stopped trying. No more flowers. No random hugs. I stopped pretending to laugh at her jokes. She noticed, but she didn't comment. She was too distracted. Too in love with someone else. Then came the day she told me she'd be gone for the weekend. "Conference in Napa," she said. "All the top sellers are going. Might close $1 million deal." I nodded. "Proud of you." She smiled, kissed my cheek, and left. But I knew where she was really going. Marcus had rented a cabin near Big Sur. I found the Airbnb confirmation in her emails. She even booked matching massages for 2. She packed silky lingerie, red heels, and a new perfume I'd never smelled before. I helped her zip her bag, knowing exactly where she'd be unzipping it. That night I didn't cry. I smiled. Because I had a plan. A beautiful, brutal plan. Lena's car disappeared down our long driveway, crimson taillights vanishing into the horizon like the trust we once shared. I stood at the window for a long time, bourbon swirling in one hand, her betrayal boiling just beneath the glassy surface of my calm expression. She was heading to her fantasy weekend with Marcus, the man who'd somehow convinced her that sneaking around in cheap hotel sheets was love. I already knew the address. His rented getaway in Big Sur, rustic cabin with a panoramic ocean view and hot tub for two. But Lena had no idea she wasn't the only one Marcus had booked for the weekend. Earlier that week, I reached out to someone unexpected, Holly. She was Marcus's on-again, off-again girlfriend according to the digital trail he forgot to sweep clean. Unlike Lena, Holly wasn't oblivious. She'd seen his games before. When I messaged her and laid everything bare, she responded with 3 words: "Let's ruin him." We crafted it perfectly. Holly would arrive halfway through the trip. Meanwhile, I contacted the Airbnb host under a fake account and booked the adjacent property. Same lot, shared parking, just a few trees and a poorly built fence separating them. I packed binoculars, a voice recorder, and something more powerful than any gun: truth. On Friday night, I drove there alone. I parked far enough to remain unseen but close enough to observe every lie unfold. The moment Lena stepped out of her car wearing a silk wrap, heels sinking into gravel, I felt something inside me twist. Not grief, not jealousy, just disillusionment. Marcus greeted her shirtless, of course. Abs like carved marble, smile slicker than motor oil. She giggled, leapt into his arms like a schoolgirl chasing forbidden dreams. They kissed like teenagers, hands tangled in each other's hair. I recorded every second. They drank wine on the deck, talked about starting fresh, and cutting ties with dead weight. I was the dead weight. My name, my face, mentioned like an obstacle, not a man she once swore loyalty to. "I'm tired of pretending," she said, swirling her Cabernet. "Caleb's a good guy, but I feel nothing anymore." "Because you were meant to burn," Marcus replied, lips grazing her neck. "Not settle." She moaned something soft, inaudible. They went inside. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. The audio was clear enough. Breathless gasp. Flesh against furniture. Laughter. Then silence. My fingers trembled slightly, but not from sorrow. No, that was gone now. I was calm, eerily so, because I knew what was coming. Saturday morning, Holly arrived. She wore sunglasses, black boots, and an expression colder than frostbite. I stepped out to meet her before she knocked. "You sure about this?" I asked. She nodded. "I'm sick of his games." We watched through the pine slats as Marcus and Lena emerged from the cabin, laughing, wrapped in towels. They kissed on the porch, steam rising from their coffee cup. Then Holly walked straight into the yard. Lena saw her first. Her face dropped like shattered porcelain. Marcus choked on his drink. "Morning, lovers," Holly greeted, voice sweet and poisonous. What are you doing here?" Marcus stammered. "I should ask you the same," she shot back. "Except I already know. Thanks to your new girlfriend's dumb habit of uploading geotagged Insta stories." Lena looked at him, horror blooming in her eyes. "You told me you were single," she shouted. Marcus backed up, hands raised. "I told you it was complicated." "You told me I was the only one," Lena added, voice cracking. "Guess he recycles lines," I said loudly, stepping into view. They all turned. Lena went pale. Her jaw opened, then shut. "Caleb, what, how?" "Oh, I've been here. Just watching. Recording. Listening." She looked like she might faint. "I trusted you," I said. "And when that cracked, I investigated. When I found out, I gave you a chance to admit it. You chose lies." Why are you here?" she whispered. "To show you the truth. Not just mine. His." Holly pulled out her phone. "Marcus told me he loved me last weekend. Said he was done cheating. Guess I was the practice round before he moved up to married women." Marcus looked trapped, like a predator caught in his own snare. You used me? Lena snapped. Marcus shrugged. I wasn't looking for serious. You said I was special. You said that about me too, Holly chimed in. I meant it. No, I cut in. You meant none of it. And Lena? He called you a placeholder. I've seen the messages. I've got the receipts. To him, you were a thrill. An experiment. A distraction. Just another notch on the ego belt. Tears welled in Lena's eyes. I left everything for him. Then maybe you shouldn't have thrown everything else away for someone who couldn't even commit to an idea, I replied. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. I turned to Holly. Thanks for your help. Glad to be part of the destruction, she smirked. Then I looked at Marcus. I hope losing everything teaches you something. He scoffed, but his pride had already deflated. And Lena? She looked at me like she'd just realized the man she betrayed might have been the only person who ever truly loved her. Too late. After the confrontation, Lena didn't chase me. Not that day. Not the next. I assumed pride kept her quiet. Maybe she was busy sorting through her wreckage, burnt lingerie, empty promises, and the ashes of her so-called second chance. Meanwhile, I drove home under a sky that seemed lighter than it had in weeks, even if the air inside my chest still weighed heavy. You don't just erase years overnight. Memories don't vanish, they echo. But what mattered more now was that I had clarity. I'd seen her without the mask. I saw Marcus for the fraud he was. I saw myself, finally, as someone who didn't need to accept betrayal as some twisted form of love. The house felt different. Colder. But also freer. Her things still sat in drawers. Her perfume clung to pillows like a ghost refusing to leave. I packed it all. Slowly. Deliberately. Not out of anger anymore, but finality. Every folded dress, each heel, every strand of auburn hair that didn't belong to the woman I married went into boxes. I labeled them, returned to sender. 3 days passed. Then she showed up. Unannounced. Uninvited. Unraveled. Her knock was faint. Hesitant. I opened the door to find her standing there, mascara smeared, eyes red, blouse wrinkled, suitcase dragging behind her like shame on wheels. Can we talk? She whispered. I paused. Depends. About what? How good the hot tub felt. Or how Marcus made you feel alive. Her lips trembled. I didn't know. You didn't care, I interrupted. You chose him. Even when you suspected he wasn't who he claimed to be, you still kept choosing him over the man you vowed your life to. She stepped inside anyway. I let her. Because I needed to hear it all. One last time. And I think she needed to bleed. I was unhappy, she admitted, sitting on the edge of our couch like it no longer belonged to her. Not because of you. Not really. Because of me. I wanted more. Excitement. Fire. And Marcus offered escape. Escape from what? I asked. From feeling invisible. From routine. From being a wife when I hadn't even figured out who I was. I nodded slowly. So your solution was to sleep with someone who lied to you better than I ever told the truth. She winced. I know it was selfish. But I didn't expect to fall for him. I laughed bitterly. You didn't fall. You dove. I thought I meant something to him, she whispered, pain cracking her voice. And now you know, you were just the Tuesday girl. Tears slid down her face. But I didn't reach out. I didn't comfort. This wasn't grief we were sharing. It was aftermath. I'm sorry, she said, voice small, pitiful. I lost everything. You didn't lose me. You gave me away. Silence. I walked toward the kitchen, needing distance, grounding. She followed. Are you going to file? I glanced at her. Would it matter if I said yes? She shook her head. I continued. I already spoke to a lawyer. Papers are ready. But I wanted to give you this moment. To say what you needed. To confess, cry, curse if you had to. I don't want a divorce, she said, voice cracking. I want to fix it. You can't repair what you demolished for a thrill, I replied. She stepped closer. I loved you. No, I said quietly. You loved the comfort, the history, the man who always said yes. But the first time excitement knocked, you left the door wide open. I made a mistake. No. You made dozens of choices. Mistakes are accidents. What you did was strategy. Her eyes filled again. So that's it. I turned to her fully. You chased lust. You found lies. Now you're here because the fantasy turned out uglier than reality. But I'm not a backup plan. She looked down. He said I was just fun. That he never planned to leave Holly. That I was a secret, not a future. The words tasted rotten even coming from her. So now you're mad because you were also cheated on? I asked. No. I'm mad because I threw away someone real for someone who never saw me as more than skin, she admitted. I nodded. Then let that be your lesson. She stood there for a long time. Silent. Hollow. I'll send movers, she said finally. To collect the rest. I didn't answer. She turned, shoulders sagging, dignity left behind in some dingy cabin beside broken promises. As the door closed, I realized something. I didn't hate her. Not anymore. I pitied her. For believing lust equaled love. For thinking being someone's secret meant she was special. For trading a lifetime for a weekend. And I pitied Marcus too. Because people like him? They only ever win the short game. 2 months passed. No texts. No calls. No more footsteps on the porch at 3 a.m. hoping for forgiveness I'd never offer. Lena vanished from my life the same way she tried to vanish our vows. Quietly, selfishly, cowardly. The divorce went through. Clean split. No arguments. No begging. She didn't contest the terms. Maybe because she knew she had no ground to stand on. Maybe because the man she'd betrayed me for had already shown her what she truly meant to him. Nothing. I saw her once. At a coffee shop downtown. She didn't notice me. She looked thinner. Pale. Worn out in a way no skincare routine could ever fix. She sat alone, stirring her cup like she wanted it to reveal a different life. One where she hadn't been a fool. One where she hadn't blown her world to pieces for a man who saw her as a pastime. I walked past without saying a word. That same week, Holly messaged me. Thought you should know, Marcus tried to call me drunk at 2 a.m. crying about his lonely bed. I replied, let him cry. He earned it. She sent a laughing emoji and a simple, you doing okay? I hesitated, then typed, better than expected. And it was true. With every sunrise, I felt stronger. Not because I found someone new or filled the hole Lena left with distractions, but because I had reclaimed something far more valuable than her loyalty, my self-respect. Then the letter came. It wasn't dramatic. Just a plain white envelope tucked between bills. No return address. I knew her handwriting instantly. I almost threw it away. But curiosity got the better of me. Inside, a single sheet. Caleb. By now you probably hate me, or worse, feel nothing. I deserve both. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect a reply. But I wanted you to hear this from me, not whispers from mutual friends or social media comments. I'm alone. Truly. Marcus moved cities. I think he's seeing someone younger. Holly never looked at me the same again, not after I helped break something she thought was real. My parents won't even mention your name around me because they know it makes me cry. I go to sleep wondering what would have happened if I had chosen differently that night. Or every night before it. You were good to me. Better than I deserve. And I confused calm with boredom. I mistook safety for routine. I forgot that peace is a privilege. You didn't lose me. I lost you. If you're happy, I'm glad. If you've moved on, I hope she sees you the way I didn't. But if nothing else, please know this. You were never the problem. I was. Lena. I folded the paper once, placed it back in the envelope, and tucked it in my desk drawer. Not because I wanted it. Because I wanted to remember. Remember how easy it is to confuse lust for love. How tempting it is to believe passion is permanent. How one wrong person can wreck everything if you let them, and how one right decision to walk away can change your life forever. Weeks later, I met someone. No sparks, no grand drama. Just a woman named Isla, who smiled with her eyes and asked questions like she actually cared about the answers. She wasn't flashy. She wasn't chaotic. She didn't come into my life like a storm. She arrived like sunrise. Gradually. Honest. I told her about my past. Not all at once. Not in gory detail. Just enough. She didn't flinch. She nodded and said, "Sometimes you have to be shattered to realize what was fake and what was real." We built something slowly. No illusions. No secret. No performances. Just trust. Genuine. Precious. One evening, as we watched the sunset from my back deck, the one Lena never used because she said it was too quiet, Isla looked over and asked, "Do you still think about her?" I thought about it. Then I said, "Sometimes." But only as a warning, not a wish. She nodded again. And that was it. The past didn't define me anymore. It didn't haunt me. It didn't own me. Because I had finally done what Lena never could. I'd learned. I'd healed. I'd moved on. And I hadn't just survived the affair. I'd won.